Class. Good morning. Welcome to our Week 11 topic on e-commerce. Our topic for this week is all about the e-commerce payment systems. The topic discussions objectives are the students are expected to identify the forms of payments, explain the anti-fraud tools, and describe the electronic payment system requirements. The concept of the e-commerce has changed the way the business is conducted in a digital world. So it is not all the electronic online payment. They have many applications areas such as the banking, advertising, including the electronic distributions, the sell marketing production management, and the distribution potentials. So the electronic payment is a financial exchange between the buyers and the sellers which take place online. So the content of this transaction is typically some of the data type of a digital financial instrument such as the encrypted credit card numbers, we have the electronic checks or the digital cash backed up by a bank or intermediary or through the legal tender. So the payment processes a bank offers to a business have dramatically changed. The organizations will now deposit its money directly into the bank account of its workers, and those transfers are made via automated transfer houses. The forms of payment systems. The cash. In terms of the number of transactions, it is the legal tender specified by the national authority to reflect interest is the most common form of the payment, the cash. The main characteristic of cash is that it immediately convertible into another types of money without any other entity being intermediated. The cash is portable and it doesn't require the verification and gives instant buying power to those who own. Uh, it lets you make the micropayments. The cash use is free because neither retailers nor the customers pay the transaction charge to use it, and it needs no supplementary properties such as the special hardware or account life, and it imposes a very low cognitive demands on the users, and it may not have the so-called float. The float, which is the time between the transaction and the final payment for the transaction, which is gone when it's spent. How about the checking transfer? Class checking transfer represents the funds transfer directly to a merchant or to another person via a signed draft of the checking form, consumer's checking account. The checks may be used to both the large and the small transactions, but they are not commonly used for the micro payments. The checks have some float and the interest can be gained on unspent balances, and it also poses the security risk for a merchant. They can be stolen from the easily to the cash, so it requires the authentication. And then we have credit cards. Credit card represents an account that extends credit to customers, which allow the consumers to buy the goods while posting payment and allows consumer to make purchases with no or with one instrument to a several vendors. So the payment card companies such as the Visa card, the MasterCards, these are the non-profit organizations that set guidelines for issuing the banks such as the Citibanks that usually issue credit card transactions and process them. How about the stored value? It is referred to the account created by depositing funds into an account and from which funds are paid out or withdrawn as needed. The debit cards immediately debit a checking or other demand deposit account. And then we have the accumulating balance. These are the accounts which incur spending and to which consumers make a frequent payments in car balancing system. Traditional examples of these are the utility bills such as the telephone bills and water bills. E-commerce payment systems, we also have the online credit card transactions since the electronic payment is dominant type of the credit and debit cards. So it is important to understand how they function and how to identify the strengths and limitations of this payment system. So the digital credit card and transactions are handled in almost the same manner in store payments, with the only variations being that online retailers never see the actual card being used. No card image is taken and there is no signature. So the digital purchases of the credit card most closely mimic the purchases via the so-called mail order, telephone order, or the MOTO. Such type of the purchases are often referred to us as the card holders, which is not present. The transactions and the main reasons why the consumers can later challenge the changes. Because the merchant never sees the credit card or receives a hand-signed payment and documentations from the client, the merchant faces the possibility the transactions will be disallowed and reversed, even if the merchants are already delivered the products or downloaded the digital products from the consumers. The merchant account is essentially a bank account that allows the businesses to accept payments by credit card and collect funds from those transactions. And then we have the credit card e-commerce enablers, wherein the companies who have the merchants accounts also need to buy or create means to manage the electronic transaction. Acquiring the merchant's account is just one step in a two-part process. So today, the providers of the internet payment services or the payment gateways provide both the merchant account and the technology resources which are required to process the online transactions of the credit card. And then we also have the alternative online payment systems, wherein the online stored values payment system allows consumers to make immediate electronic payments to retailers and other persons based on the value held in the online account. The mobile payment system or the smartphones. The mobile payment is a specific term for the smartphone-powered payment that requires the use of the near-field communications or NFC, the Bluetooth and the QR codes for mobile wallets. The digital wallet tends to apply to online services while smartphones emphasis is on the e-wallet and the mobile wallets. The mobile payments technology can include the mobile banking applications such as the NFC, wherein it allows the communications with the specific contact between the phone and the payment terminal, allowing for the exchange of the small pieces of data through the radio waves. And then we also have the digital cash and virtual currencies. The digital cash as an alternative payment system in which the unique authenticated tokens represent the cash value. That is, there's no way to get the buyer information when a digital cash amount is sent from the consumer to a seller. So it is one of the main distinction between the credit card and the digital cash systems. So the main distinction is the possibility of reusing a digital cash certificate. Electronic billing and payments. These are the system which allows the monthly bills to be delivered online and paid for. The electronic billing and payment services enable the consumers to display the bills remotely and pay for the transfer from bank or credit card accounts through the electronic funds. So the major players of the electronic billing and payment includes biller direct system, which are originally created by the large utilities to facilitate the routine payments of utility bills, but which are increasingly base used by the other billers. We also have the consolidators, which attempts to aggregate all the bills for consumers in one place and ideally permit one-stop bill payment. The infrastructure providers, which supports the biller direct and consolidated business models. So these are the major players of the electronic billing and payment. What are the aspects and functionalities of the electronic billing and payments? The acceptance. To be successful, the payment infrastructures must be largely accepted. Anonymity, the privacy of the consumers must be secured. We have the conversion wherein the digital money should be convertible to financial funds of other kinds. And then we also have the efficiency wherein the cost of transactions must be a near zero. Flexibility, different types of payment should be supported. We have the integration, support the actual applications and reliability that allows you to always be available to avoid the potential points of failure. We also have this scalability, which permit the new consumers or customers and merchants entrance without affecting the infrastructure. The security, which supports the financial transaction security over an open networks. The usability, wherein the payment should be uneasy as in the real world. And we have the broader market, wherein the people not eligible for credit card could use these systems, giving a widespread acceptance. We also have the trust that wherein the consumers and the merchants must have a high degree of confidence. How about the micropayment systems? The micropayment system supports the higher value payments. So in this payment system, the protection stands are more stringent because of the large cash transactions. These are based on the real-world payments tools and have the minimum overhead transactions imposed by using this bank. This overhead transactional and heavy use of the computational expensive cryptographic operation prevents these payment systems that being used by paying the small amounts. One of them is the card-based payment system. The card-based payment system establish account arrangement with both payer and payee to a financial institution. We also have the electronic check payment system, which the check or each check is usually generated and digitally signed by the payer. We have the account transfer payment system, wherein the payer authorizes the transfer of funds from one account to another, much of the time at the same network bank. The payment security plan. So the key steps in developing a security plan includes perform a risk assessment, wherein assessment of the risk and the points of vulnerability, develop a security policy wherein a set of statements prioritizing the information risk, identifying acceptable risk targets, and identifying the mechanism for achieving these targets. We also have the creates an implementation plan, wherein a plan that determines how will you translate the levels of acceptability or acceptability risk, since a set of tools or technology policies and procedures have this kind of risk. Create security team, the individuals who will be the responsible for the ongoing maintenance or audits for improvements. Perform periodic security audits, which is a routine reviews of the access logs of any unusual patterns of activity. The card frauds and anti-fraud tools. So, class, in our online world, the merchants are held liable for the fraudulent transactions. Managing online frauds continues to be the significant problems of the online merchants. So, the list of anti-fraud tools are address verification, which we compare and enter the shipping address with the card address, possible false positive. And then we have the manual review, wherein the staff to manually review some orders. We also have the automatic decision models, wherein rules to determine if the transaction is fraudulent. We have the card verification number, which asks for the number of the on the back of the card, and we have the card association additional verification services, which verified by the visa or the security code. Then we also have the negative list, which maintains the negative list of the IPs, the names and addresses. So those are the card frauds and anti-fraud tools. And then we also have the e-banking. Plus, e-banking provides the cheap alternative to branching to extended bank consumer base, and many banks use the bank or the e-banking to increase their customer support. So many banks have started the internet websites, and many are planning to offer the banking services over the net, especially this time of pandemic. The banking as an enterprise can be divided into the wholesale, the retail, and domestic and international, trust and investment. So these are the forms of the retail and investment banking that most affected by technological advances were in online, and there are the ones that would most benefit from the e-commerce. So the online banking transactions provide the checks for orders, interrupted check payments, or registered a change in email. Plus, these are the references and suggested readings that you may use for further study of our Week 11 topic on e-commerce. Thank you and good day.